Hey there, it's Elizabeth. Welcome back. I hope y'all are doing well. This is going to be hopefully a short video on my experience with Mod Podge and Matte Medium, and it's in response to a question I had on Instagram about how I go about doing the covers of my altered composition books, okay? This one happens to be a Mod Podged cover, all right? What I'm going to be addressing in this video is how to get rid of the stickiness of the Mod Podge, okay? Because it is an issue. You know, you don't want to do something, create an art piece or even, of course, do the cover of a composition book for a journal. If it's going to be used daily, you don't want to ruin the cover by having stuff stick to it, okay? So that's what this video is about. And I had also showed you this, I think, in the last ramble session, and this is matte medium, a napkin matte mediumed onto a book, okay? I have not done anything to it to get rid of the stickiness. It's a little bit tacky, but not that bad. So this is actually what I showed you in the ramble session, but what I'm going to do is talk about the stickiness. So I decided to show you this, which is this is from 2015, one of my old Fobonichi, September, October. Now, the cover was an idea originally from Cat Hands. So I will link her channel below, of course, and you can go on over there. She uses Mod Podge a lot in a lot of her artwork. And so she might have, even like a tips and tricks type of video on her channel about it. But anyway, I thought this was the perfect example because I'm not sure that I ever did anything to unsticky this. And I know I might have put wax on it, but I'm not sure. I can't tell. Okay, so let's get into it. Oh, another question along these same lines is, the question originally was she wanted to make an altered composition book for her daughter, and how did I go about putting the covers on my page and using Mod Podge to protect them, okay? Now, this is this month's book, and this is just a calendar page that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I simply use a glue stick and glue it right on top of the composition book and then wash it, whatever. I do not put anything, generally speaking, I do not put anything on top to protect the covers. It doesn't bother me. However, if you want to protect the covers, you can do one of two things, okay? One of them is protecting it by Mod Podging it, okay? Or using matte medium, all right? Another way, let me just pick another book off my shelf here. Okay. Another way is, sorry for the glare, it is glary because what I did to protect this cover was I used packing tape, clear packing tape, and just put strips of it all across the top, okay, to protect it from getting marred and scratched and ripped and all that kind of stuff, okay? So, two ways to protect your book: either put packing tape over across top of it, or use Mod Podge. Okay, so then the next question she had for me was, if I use Mod Podge, how do you get rid of the stickiness? Now, I've told you before, I live on the very southern tip of Florida, so we might as well be in the Caribbean. It's a very tropical climate, okay? We might as well be in the Caribbean, even though I'm wearing a sweatshirt, because it's in the 50s outside, and it's very cold for me in my little Caribbean skin. Okay, so yeah, in our climate, our climate is extremely hot normally, and it's humid. Now, in my house and in most homes where I live, we all have air conditioning, central air conditioning. Most of us, I shouldn't say all, most of us have central air conditioning. And having central air conditioning is supposed to take the humidity out of the air as well as cooling it. And it does not take 100% of the humidity out, okay? So in the dark recesses of my home, such as a bookshelf or a closet or something like that, there is still humidity. So when you're working with Mod Podge, I have heard some people say that theirs does not become sticky, or it's only sticky if they use the glossy. It's not sticky if they use the matte. So in my case where I live, it's sticky all the time, no matter what kind I use, okay? So I don't have a bottle of Mod Podge right here on my desk, but I'm sure you all know what Mod Podge is. The other stuff that I use, which is, you know, the same thing basically, is matte medium, or I have used this Liquitex glossy medium and varnish, okay? I use what I have. You can also even do a mixture of white school glue with water and use that as Mod Podge, okay? So let's get back to the question of the stickiness. Here's how I get rid of the stickiness. Sorry for the glare. There you go, okay? Daddy Van's furniture polish, okay? I first learned about this from Shannon Green, all right? Now, back in the day, here, I'll leave it here. I just don't want it to glare. Okay, oh, let me open it up. I've shown this before. It's a solid wax, okay, for furniture. Now, back in the day when I was experimenting with mixed media, a lot of people I would see would wax their pages so that they didn't stick together, you know, because there were layers of paint and all sorts of mixed media on it, right? So they would wax their pages to keep them from sticking, okay? Some people, like Shannon Green, where I learned about Daddy Vans, used Daddy Vans. Way back in the day, people were using like car polish, you know, like turtle wax car polish. So they would use that. Now, what I do in this case is I do use Daddy Vans, and I'll show you. Okay, you just take a paper towel, all right, and you rub it in there. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's wax on there. Okay, so you just take it, and I don't want to shake you about, so I'm just going to do it very slowly. Okay. So you take this and you rub it all over the book, okay? I'll finish this sometime later. Not a big deal, all right? So you rub it all over, okay? Now, if you put your finger on it, I mean, you can see the sheen on my finger, right? You've got a wax layer, okay? Once you have the wax layer on there, you let it sit for a little bit. This is just my experience. You let it set for a little bit. And then you go back with a dry paper towel, okay? A dry paper towel. And then you rub that over it and over it and over it to buff it out, okay? The last step would be to use just a rag. You know, it is clean, it's just stained. But you would use your rag, and then you would go and buff it, okay? Just like you would a car, right? You buff it, buff it, buff it, okay? Until it's all nice and shiny and not sticky. Now, there are times when it's still, let me put something down here because I don't want to get wax on my drop sheet. Okay, because I haven't buffed that out, so I don't want to get wax everywhere. Okay, now, on the back of this, I never did do the, what's it called? I never did the back. Okay, hello, Elizabeth, wake up. Okay, so what I did was I painted it with matte acrylic paint, okay? Just craft paint. This is just the paint itself. This right here, you can see the shine. This is glossy. This is the Liquitex, okay? Glossy varnish, gloss medium and varnish, okay? On this side here is the matte medium, all right? Daler Rowney matte medium. Okay, so I just did this to show you, all right? Now, if I take my Daddy Vans, I don't know if you're going to be able to see a difference, okay? But, okay, so I took a little bit of Daddy Vans, all right? Oh, gosh, the back is, like, slippery now. Let me just rub a little bit on there and see if you can tell. Okay, there you go. See that? Okay? This is over the matte medium, okay? That's the wax, all right? Then, once you let that set for a little bit, like I said, you're going to take the clean side and you're going to rub it and buff it out, okay? Let's see what happens on this. This is the shiny part. And like I said, I have heard before that some people, in their experience, they get not as much tackiness using matte medium. They get more tackiness using the shiny medium, okay, or the glossy form. Let me see. That's tacky. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe there's truth to that. I mean, I'm sure there is. It appears to me right now that yes, the shiny does have a little bit more tack than the matte, okay? But in my experience, you're going to get tackiness with whichever one, okay? So there's the wax, okay? See, it adds a little bit of a shine, okay? Which is nice. It adds a shine to it, okay? This down here, let's see what happens when I put the wax on it. Okay, you can see where the wax is, right? This is no wax. Here's the wax. Oh, see, you can see my finger in it. Here's the wax. See my finger in it? Okay, that's why you have to buff it out, because otherwise you're going to get wax everywhere and it will stain, okay? It will stain. So, I don't want to shake you guys about now, so I'll try to do this a little bit lightly to begin buffing it out, okay? You would do this like, rather vigorously and, putting pressure on it, but I don't want to shake you guys all over. Okay. Then you take your cloth and you do the same thing, okay? And you buff it and you buff it and you buff it until you can't buff it anymore. All right, up and down, side to side, round and round, okay? Now, look at it now. You cannot even tell. Down here, well, you can kind of tell maybe. Down here, there is just the matte medium, okay? Which can tend to get sticky, remain a bit tacky. Up here is where I put the wax, all right? And it is no longer waxy. See, you can't see my fingerprints through it, I don't think, okay? And it's not very, it's not waxy on my fingertips, right? So it's not going to stain anything, okay? Now, in my experience, even after I've done all of that, okay? Now we're just working on this upper part right here. After I've worked on all that, when it's on my shelf, it can still remain a bit tacky. So this is my trick. Baby powder, okay? Now, the only thing is with using baby powder, okay, well, a couple of things. Number one, it has a scent, okay? So if you are sensitive to scents, you could always use something like, what's that stuff called? Like cornstarch, okay? Same type of thing, like talcum powder, same type of thing. So, and that you can get at the dollar store too. So, cheap alternative. And what I do is I simply put a little bit, like let me open it first. I'll put a little tiny sprinkling right there. I know you can't see it because it's white on white, but I'll put a little sprinkling, right? And then I will dip, this is an old blush brush, okay? I will dip it in there and get it on there. And then I will lightly go over the top of this, okay? It is smooth as a baby's bottom. Isn't that the reason for baby powder? Anyway, yeah, it takes all the stickiness out, all right? There is now no more stickiness, okay? You could, even if you wanted to, put a little sprinkling on there and then brush it out, brush it out, brush it out, okay? Now, the only difference, okay, see, so it still looks, it's still sealed. It's still, everything's peachy keen. It's just not tacky anymore. So that's what I do. And again, you don't have to use baby powder because it does have a scent. So unless you want your books to smell like a baby's bottom, you could always use the cornstarch, okay? Now, what else was I going to tell you? Because there was one more thing. Oh, yes. Okay, here, that's on black, okay? Now, I just want to warn you, okay? This has not been waxed at all. And see, little bits are sticking to it, okay? Even though it doesn't feel very tacky, it is tacky, and little bits of stuff are gonna, you know, they're gonna stick to it, okay? So here's the spine of the book, right? Which I have already waxed and I have powdered, okay? Now, it's still a little bit glossy, but I wanted to show you something, okay? Let me just put a little bit right there, okay. All right, we'll get it on there. My whole room is gonna smell like a giant baby butt, but that's okay. All right, at least it's a clean baby butt, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so I take the powder and I just lightly go over where I have waxed, okay? Lightly go over where I have waxed, just like that. That's simple, okay? Now, if you'll notice, some of the sheen has disappeared. It has a little bit of a sheen, right? But the powder, whatever powder you use, it is going to dull what you have done, okay? Slightly. But if you look in the light, it still has a sheen, right? Then you run your hands over it and it is smooth. It is not sticky at all, okay? And there you have it, right? So there's the trick to getting rid of the stickiness, okay? That's what I do. Again, I'm no expert, you know. I pretty much don't know what I'm doing most of the time. So I experiment and I learn from others. And yeah, so in order to get your stickiness out, okay, these are the two things that I would use, okay? I would use the Daddy Vans for waxing your surface and make sure that you buff it all out. And then if you want to, if it still feels sticky or tacky or whatever, I would use the powder, okay? Either baby powder or something like cornstarch, you know? And I would suggest that you don't put it directly onto, I wouldn't put the powder directly onto what you're trying to get the stickiness out of. I would suggest that you know, put a little blob off to the side and then dip your brush into the powder, right? And then use it, all right? Okay, this turned out to be a little bit longer than I wanted, but I hope it answered your question and I hope it helped you out a bit on how to get the stickiness off of your books once you have sealed them with either Mod Podge, PVA and water glue, matte medium, or glossy medium. Make sure you check out any of the channels that I have mentioned in this video. They'll be in the description box below. And thanks for your time. Catch you later.